Can Paddy Pimblett last with the top of the lightweight division? This is a question that's been on the MMA community's mind since his stinky performance against Ryan Gordon. It doesn't matter if you think he won that fight or not. The fact that it was that close with a fighter of that caliber makes us very concerned about his chances against some of these savages in the top 10 of the lightweight. Today we're going to be breaking down a hypothetical fight between Paddy Pimblett and each of the top 10 ranked lightweights. I'm going to be scoring them in this tier list. As you can see, we have favorable matchup. Any fighter in this category, I think he can beat, honestly. But obviously, I don't think he can beat the entirety of the top 10 lightweights. These are all here right now, but they're going to be shuffled around as the video goes on. Up from there, we have 50-50. This is a toss-up, meaning I don't know who wins this fight. Either fighter could really pull it through. And then we have chance to win. This is where Paddy has a decent chunk of the percentage, about 30% chance to win. But I think the likely outcome is that he loses. After that, we have probably screwed category. This means Paddy has a small chance, but as it says, he's probably screwed. And then after that, we have up here, this category, if any fighter's placed up here, I think that fighter demolishes Paddy Pimblett, and he has almost no chance of beating them. And that's why it's just labeled screwed. Because some of these fighters, based on the performance and all the evidence we have, I think he is screwed against some of them. Now, we're actually going to be breaking down Paddy Pimblett's style first. We're going to be breaking down his strengths and weaknesses, and I'm going to be giving you a template of what type of fighter is worse for him to face. What style matchups are worse. Because we don't want to be going over all of his strengths and weaknesses for each one of these fighters. We're going to go through a template of what he's good at, what he can do, who he can beat, the type of fighter he's good at fighting, and the type of fighter he's bad at fighting. And then we're going to start ranking each of these lightweights. Now, Paddy Pimblett's strengths are mostly his ability to take a punch, his chin, his tenacity, his power in his hands, and his jiu-jitsu and grappling. Now, on paper, to the uninitiated, Paddy seems like he's got it all. He can knock you out in the feet and he can submit you on the ground, right? But I'd say his weaknesses come in his delivery systems of each of these types of things. When you're really good at jiu-jitsu, you need to be able to take people down. Now, jiu-jitsu, while it has abilities to take people down, it's actually not very good at it. If you want a discipline that's better at taking people down, that's your wrestling. Wrestling, a lot of people lump wrestling and jiu-jitsu all in the same category. Jiu-jitsu is more for grappling and finding submissions. Wrestling's more for body control, taking people down, finding dominant positions, things like this. When a guy's really good at wrestling, he can take you down and he can keep you there. That can lead to a really boring fighter. When a guy's really good at jiu-jitsu, he might have some trouble taking you down, but once he gets you to the ground, there's a big problem. This is guys like Charles Oliveira, Nate Diaz, you know? They use other methods to get guys to be taken down because neither of them are that good at wrestling, but they have some great jiu-jitsu. Paddy's in this category. He has a lot of good jiu-jitsu. As you can see here, he's got submissions, and that's honestly his biggest strength is his jiu-jitsu. He's the most technical in this aspect. But his delivery system of getting someone to the ground is worrying. He actually only has a 25% takedown accuracy, as you can see here. This means about 1 in 4 takedowns. Now, if we actually go through, I've actually watched all these fights before this video. His submissions and his jiu-jitsu comes from someone else grappling with him. Alright? In this fight here, he actually got tagged with a big shot by Vargas. He went down and then Vargas got on top of him. I think Paddy Pimblett shot a takedown after he got hit by a big punch, but he was concussed, and then Vargas was able to reverse the takedown really quickly and get on top of him. If you go back and watch that, that's what happened. From there, Paddy Pimblett was able to work his way around. Paddy Pimblett's really good at reversing positions. He did the same thing here against Levitt. He was already in a position with Levitt where Levitt had him against the fence trying to take him down, and Paddy Pimblett's reversed the position and taken him down. So you see Paddy Pimblett's jiu-jitsu really come through and start to shine when someone else is willingly grappling with him. We don't see him blast double-legging. We don't see him, pressuring against the cage and taking people down himself. His wrestling, like I said, and his takedowns actually aren't that good. And that's going to be a problem with this top 10 lightweights. Fighters he's going to be good at fighting are ones that don't have great boxing defense themselves. Actually, it's kind of weird, but Paddy Pimblett would do really well against Paddy Pimblett. A mirrored fight. Someone who isn't really that great at boxing, not good at keeping their hands up, keeps their chin up, so Paddy Pimblett can land that big punch. And someone who's not too good at keeping the fight standing. They want to grapple with him. Someone who's going to try and take him down. You know, if we had a clone of Paddy Pimblett versus Paddy Pimblett, it'd be a different outcome every single time. It'd be a knockout or a submission within the first round, like so quick. Because Paddy Pimblett has these great methods of finishing fights. He just doesn't have the technical skill to get to that position where he can finish those fights. So what we're going to be looking at here is fighters that want to grapple with him and aren't too great on the feet at defense. Give him that opportunity to find that submission and give him that opportunity to find that knockout. And there's the complete opposite end, fighters that do not grapple with him and won't let him grapple with them, won't give him the chance to find that submission, and on the feet are very technical, very good head movement, very good at counter punching. They're going to be very hard for him to deal with. So we're going to be ranking all the lightweights now. I think, who should we start with? Let's start with Michael Chandler, because he's a big one. When we're talking about a matchup with Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett, there's a few weaknesses that Chandler has here that Paddy could exploit. And if we had to go over quick in a nutshell what Chandler's bad at, I'd say he's bad at strategy. His tactics in fights are usually really bad. Yeah, we saw him use some actual good strategy against Poirier for most of that fight, but we saw his gas tank, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about, play a big factor in that. His strategy might be alright, but his gas tank gives out and he gives up a big position like he did in the Poirier fight and he gets submitted, you know? And Paddy could do that. Paddy's really good at reversing submissions. And maybe his cardio lasts. If we're really looking at how Paddy wins this fight, it's with a gas Chandler in the later rounds where he can land a lot of those big shots. Because in the early rounds, Chandler's going to be bouncing in and out. And if he does get clipped, he's going to go for a blast double leg. And as we've seen, he's pretty good at control. And like Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu is pretty good. You know, Poirier's jiu-jitsu is obviously pretty good. I don't know if they're on Paddy's level, but we saw him control guys in the first round after having some issues, right? And so I don't think in the first round he's going to have some problems. I think a Paddy Pimblett win against Chandler is going to come in the last round when he's gassed. And very similar to Poirier, how Poirier reversed the position on him and submitted him. That could happen too. The big problem here is having an easily hittable guy with his chin up in the air versus Michael Chandler. That's the big problem. Michael Chandler is notorious for big shots out of nowhere. A random flying knee, a big left hook, front kick to the face, right? And you're telling me that Paddy Pimblett, a guy who's easily hit, is not going to get one of these giant Chandler bombs in the first round and get put out cold? I don't believe you. I have to give Paddy some chances in the later rounds. And if he does drop Chandler, which is possible because Chandler's reckless and he does get dropped a lot, especially he got dropped by Ferguson, which Ferguson hasn't been looking good lately. So, you know, if he can drop him and then Chandler's going to panic, blast double leg, maybe he could find a position there. He's got a chance to win. I'm going to put him in the chance to win tier. The next person I'm going to do, because it's quite similar and it's easy to take a lot of points from what we just talked about and apply it to this one, is Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje pretty much is the same template as Chandler, except he's taking away a lot of the weaknesses that Chandler would face in a fight with Paddy. Obviously, what I just said is Chandler gets caught. Paddy has big power and has reckless punches. So there's a chance Chandler gets caught and he gets dropped. That kind of is negated with Gaethje's style. Gaethje's, again, someone who's good at stopping you from taking him down, so that's going to be a problem for Paddy, and he's really good on the feet. He's got some of the most precise punches after he's been punched, which is surprising. Justin Gaethje works well after you've already smacked him, and then he lands some really crisp shovel uppercuts and hooks inside, and he always tends to find people on strange angles. Paddy isn't going to get him down. His jiu-jitsu is going to be useless in that fight, and the way Paddy fights on the stand-up is exactly how Gaethje wants to fight on the stand-up. You have to give Paddy a puncher's chance because Gaethje's easily hit, and everyone, maybe one day his chin isn't the same and he fights Paddy and he gets KO'd. There's a small chance. But that's where we're going to go. A really small chance. I'm going to put Gaethje in the probably screwed category. I think this is the fight I actually want to see. Paddy Pimblett coming forward trying to throw bombs on Gaethje and Gaethje taking him and throwing bombs back. He's going to start busting up Paddy's face. It's going to be, I'd say it's probably going to be, out of all the fighters here, while some of them are going to be more technically outdoing Paddy, Gaethje's going to be the one that's going to brutalize him. If you don't have good defense on the feet and you can't take the fight to the ground, Gaethje's going to stand in front of you and start taking you apart, right? And Paddy just doesn't have the footwork. He doesn't have the head movement. He's going to start getting tagged by Gaethje. And you know, each punch you take from Gaethje, you're not the same afterwards. He starts breaking you down slowly. He doesn't have that big one-shot KO power like Chandler would, but he breaks you down over the fight. And he would have a field day with Paddy. He'd be breaking him down from the first bell. And Paddy would be throwing big shots back, but half of them would glance off Gaethje's head and he'd land even bigger shots back. So I think there's a really small chance that Gaethje's chin is just like worn out and Paddy lands a big shot. And because Gaethje gets hit so much, you have to give everyone a good chance with him if they have power in their hands. Paddy has power in his hands, so I give him a little bit of a chance. But he's probably screwed. He probably gets shit mixed. And badly. I think it'd be a really bad time for Paddy. Let's go into our next fighter, Rafael Fiziev. And again, I think we can apply pretty much what we just did. That's why I'm doing it in this order, because you can apply all of these points to each of these fighters and we don't have to talk too much about them, so we can get on with the video. He's got the power of Gaethje. He's got way better punch speed. He's got really good head movement, and he's got takedown defense. Again, all the weaknesses we just had with Gaethje about easily getting hit, Rafael Fiziev does not have those. I don't think Paddy Pimblett can land a punch on Rafael Fiziev. Obviously, anyone can land a punch on anyone, but I really don't think it's likely. I think Rafael Fiziev is like the worst matchup. I know I just said that with Gaethje. I think Gaethje is the most brutal matchup. That is where might see like, you know how it goes with Gaethje. If you have a fight with him, you might never recover afterwards because of what he'll do to your face. I think Rafael Fiziev puts Paddy out cold really fast, because just like Gaethje, he likes trading and staying in the pocket, but he has head movement and he has footwork. Paddy Pimblett's going to swing a wild punch. Fiziev's going to duck out and then hit him with like a 4-punch combo and just obliterate him. I honestly think because of the punch speed and the power and the lack of options for Paddy in this fight, he's not going to get Fiziev to the ground. He's not going to catch him on the feet, and Fiziev's going to catch him on the feet. And Fiziev doesn't just hit you once or twice. You know, like Gaethje, he doesn't just smack you really hard and let you sort of recover and chop with the legs and slowly move up and break you down. Or he hits you like 5 times with a big punch combination, ripping both sides. His whole body's twisting. With Paddy Pimblett's chin up in the air like that, it's going to be really fast. Like, I think that he's honestly screwed. I'm going to put him in the screwed category. I think Fiziev literally KOs him so quickly. Because if he fights how he's been fighting, getting catched by, like, check left hooks by Ryan Gordon and some of these lower-ranked fighters, Rafael Fiziev has put out some of the best in that division. Outside the top 10. Some of the best in that division with his ridiculously fast hooks. Just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. He just spins and smacks you. And Paddy Pimblett's going to get smacked because Paddy Pimblett gets smacked. And Fiziev's going to put him out cold really fast. And I don't see what does Paddy Pimblett do in the first 2 minutes of that fight? Try and take him down? He's not going to take Fiziev down. What's he going to do? Punch with him? He's going to punch with Rafael Fiziev. No, he's not. I think he gets destroyed in that matchup really quickly. And I don't know if a lot of people know about Fiziev, but you need to go look at some of his fights. His combos are ridiculous. And I think it's a really bad matchup for Paddy. I think Paddy gets annihilated by Rafael Fiziev. Let's just jump into someone else now that isn't a striker. Mateusz Gamrot. He can strike. He is very good at striking. I think he would catch Paddy on the feet a lot. But if we take his style and how he fights, he likes to take guys down. He likes to grind them out. He likes to mix it up with strikes and takedowns. While I think he would outpoint Paddy and mostly grind him out in a fight, you have to look at Paddy's style. It's a high finish rate style. What he wants to do is he wants to find the finish. You know, he's always gone for the submission, whether he's on top or bottom. He's always gone for the knockout wherever he is. And Gamrot, I think, gives him too many chances to do this. If Gamrot fights the way he fought, say, Dariush or some of these other guys, he's always going for takedowns. And Paddy Pimblett loves that. He wants someone to grapple with him. He wants someone to try and take him down so he can reverse the position and get a submission. I don't know if he could reverse the submission on Gamrot, but I know that Paddy Pimblett has a chance to win with Gamrot because he has that constant grappling. Like, as I think Mateusz likely just like grinds him out, just too much skill on the feet as well would light him up a bit, and in the grappling would take him down and control him a lot because his wrestling is actually very good. But Paddy does have a chance to win here, because if you're constantly grappling with Paddy Pimblett, that's his bread and butter. He wants you to grapple with him. He wants to find a submission. Now, Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier, I think, again, we're going to have to go with a lot of the logic from Chandler and Gaethje and Fiziev. Dustin Poirier is really, really good on the feet. I'd say he's arguably the best boxer in lightweight. He drops everyone he fights. He's really, really technical. He can avoid shots very well. He counters extremely well. And look, there was a moment in that Chandler fight where Chandler went for a takedown. If you didn't see, I think it was the first round. Headbutted Poirier by accident. Poirier was sort of rocked, and then Chandler followed up with a big punch and rocked him again. And then Poirier went up against the cage with his elbows up, blocking as he does. His defense is good even when he's hurt. And Chandler, is a lot faster than Paddy Pimblett, has faster punches. I'd argue they're more powerful, things like that. A dazed Dustin Poirier was in the middle of a flurry from the powerful, Michael Chandler throwing big shots, and he still manages to counter Chandler and drop him, because that's how he did drop him. If you go back and watch that fight, he drops Chandler in the middle of Chandler smashing him against the cage. Big shots rolling off the arms, and he still catches him. Poirier dodged Oliveira, which has pretty clean, crisp punches. He really likes to keep everything tight, and he makes them really clean. And even he threw a really clean uppercut, and Poirier just leaned out of the way, check hooked, put him on the ground. Poirier's boxing is honestly going to shit mix Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett loads up. He keeps his hands down, his chin up. He's going to load up on a big punch. Poirier's going to lean back. Poirier misses punches by an inch. He'll literally move just his head. And I don't mean slip. I mean literally move his face, and it'll pass by his face. Just that little bit of area, that surface area, he can move, and he'll miss a punch. Poirier's boxing is way too good for Paddy Pimblett to box the way he does. He cannot telegraph on Poirier. Gaethje had a really hard time hitting Poirier, right? He was missing all over the place. Poirier's boxing defense is so good. To someone who's got the boxing like Paddy Pimblett, he's gonna just glance off the shoulders and the elbows. He's gonna miss a lot, and if you miss a lot on Poirier, he's gonna hit you back. He's screwed if he fights Poirier, because again, who has submitted Poirier? Really good wrestlers who have jiu-jitsu as well, because that's the king combination. If you're a really good wrestler, they can't stop you from taking them down, and you're really good at jiu-jitsu, and you can submit them in dominant positions, which you got from your wrestling. The best way to fight a fighter like that is to just sit in the corner and cry, because what are you going to do, right? Those are the guys that submit Poirier. Because even though you could say, well, Paddy Pimblett has his rear naked chokes, and that's what Poirier seems to be weak against. Poirier got rear naked choked by some of the best wrestler in the sport of Habib. And he got submitted by Oliveira, which is really good. Oliveira as a jiu-jitsu guy. His back take, his backpack, he jumps on the back and submits him from that end. He negates the need for a lot of wrestling there, because he doesn't need to fully take you down. He can just jump on your back like that. Very useful. But Paddy doesn't have the back take like that. Paddy doesn't have good wrestling. I don't think he can get Poirier to the ground. And Poirier, I already said it, he shit mixes him on the feet. Paddy Pimblett's wild open punches with his chin up, Poirier's going to have a field day. He's going to be leaning back and just cracking him over and over again. He's screwed if he fights Poirier. We're going to jump straight into the champion next, Islam Makhachev. And I think the way he performed against Charles Oliveira is very telling against how he performed against Paddy. Paddy and Oliveira have a very similar style in the way that they both come forward and charge with big punches, and then they want to grapple with you, even if you take them down, because they want to use their jiu-jitsu. If anything, Oliveira is just a better version of Paddy Pimblett. His techniques are more crisp, more precise. He keeps his chin down more. He really is tight with his guard. The only thing you can give Paddy over Oliveira would probably be chin. Oliveira has a better chin. Sorry, no, Paddy Pimblett has a better chin than Oliveira. Oliveira gets dropped a lot. Paddy Pimblett gets rocked, but he hasn't been dropped just yet. If Islam Makhachev can find his way through the tighter guard and better defenses of Oliveira to land his shots in between Oliveira trying to land on him, he's gonna land on Paddy. And if he doesn't care about the jiu-jitsu, look, okay, this is another hot take. I think Oliveira's jiu-jitsu and Islam Makhachev's jiu-jitsu is actually really close. I'd love to see a grappling match with them. The thing is Islam Makhachev rocked Oliveira. And on a lot of these other fighters like Dustin Poirier or Justin Gaethje, when they rocked Oliveira, well, it's okay. for Oliveira, right? He's like, well, I'm rocked, but I'll still beat you. My grappling while I'm rocked and concussed will still beat your grappling if you come down here. So they didn't go down there. Islam Makhachev, they're so close in grappling. They're both so close. Like, the skill level is so close and how good they are. That Islam Makhachev, if you're rocked, he's going to submit you. Even if you're like a great jiu-jitsu expert like Oliveira, because you're rocked and he's not. He's screwed. What's he going to do that Oliveira couldn't? I don't see what you can give. I don't see, if you think Paddy Pimblett can do anything to Islam Makhachev, I don't see why you thought, how you think Oliveira couldn't do the same stuff. And I'll rank Oliveira right now because we're talking about him. Probably screwed if he fights Oliveira. He's got a puncher's chance versus Oliveira. But again, Oliveira landed on Gaethje, landed on Poirier. If you didn't notice, Oliveira was landing good punches on Poirier. Poirier just has an iron chin. Alright? He was rocking Gaethje bad and stepping into his punches. He's not going to be afraid of Paddy Pimblett. Actually, Paddy Pimblett versus Oliveira would be a great fight. They would clash really bad. Except, I just think Oliveira does everything Paddy does, but better. What does Paddy do that Oliveira doesn't do better? Big shots on the feet? Oliveira's straighter, more crisp, more clean, more options too. He throws way better knees, way better elbows, way better clean hooks. The jiu-jitsu? Oliveira's got ways to use his jiu-jitsu. Paddy has to wait for you to take him down or engage in the grappling with him. Oliveira doesn't have to wait for that. He'll climb all over you like a spider and submit you. Next fighter we're going to grab is Dan Hooker. How does Dan Hooker perform against Paddy Pimblett? Now, there's two things here. Dan Hooker is actually fairly easy to hit. The thing is that he likes getting hit. If you look at his knockout of Gilbert Burns, he literally traded a punch for a punch to knock out Gilbert Burns. And in general, that's what made him such a tough fight for Poirier, because Poirier likes to really box up and stay in the pocket and move around. But Dan Hooker just took his punches and moved forward, and he's got a longer reach than Poirier, so that made it more annoying for him as well. He was actually a very bad matchup for Poirier. The fact that Poirier still beat him just shows how good Poirier is. But Dan Hooker really, he's just going to walk forward on Paddy, and you got to give him that chance to win. That's where I'm going to put him. He has a chance here, just because one day Dan Hooker's chin might fail him, right? And Paddy lands big shots. So Dan Hooker being easily hit, Paddy hitting really hard, there's a chance there. But he's just playing Dan Hooker's game here. I mean, Dan Hooker loves trading shots, and he loves staying in your face. And I think he'd honestly just beat the shit out of Paddy, and Paddy would have a really hard time because, again, I don't think he's going to take down Dan. And we saw with Claudio Puelles, which we have on this list, which, by the way, isn't in the top 10. I just want to rant about him later on. You saw when he fought Claudio Puelles, a jiu-jitsu guy's got basically nothing on Dan Hooker unless they can take him down. And Paddy's wrestling ain't there. Dan is not going to clinch up and wrestle with him. He's just going to stand there and kickbox with him. And you're telling me that Paddy Pimblett's going to have basically a kickboxing fight with Dan Hooker? He's going to lose is what he's going to do. That's not going to go well for him. Actually, we'll go now we talked about him, we'll talk about Claudio Puelles. He's not even in the top 10. But his performance against Dan Hooker was so bad that I have to talk about it and just put it into this video. I'll be quick, don't worry. He got TKO'd by a front kick to the stomach. Do you do any body conditioning? And if you look at the other TKOs in his history that he's suffered from other fighters, they are from body shots. I don't know if Claudio Puelles does any damn body conditioning. And the UFC was pushing him. This guy from Peru, we want the Peruvian market. He's really good because he got a few knee bar submissions. Who the hell thought that Dan Hooker was going to lose against him? I didn't. I don't think anyone did. But no, I mean, I remember a few people did. That's why I got to have this quick rant. Dan Hooker, if you go look through his fights, was really good at getting out of knee bars. And he's really good on the feet. And he's really good at not getting taken down. Claudio Puelles isn't even good. He's a jiu-jitsu guy again, just like Paddy Pimblett. I want to see them matched up just because I want to see Claudio Puelles lose, and I want to see Paddy Pimblett fight another fight. This is the only guy here that's going to be in a favorable matchup. Claudio Puelles loses to Paddy Pimblett. He loses to anyone who can throw a damn body shot. I'm sorry. Maybe I just have some weird hatred for this guy, but he just performed so terribly. He was just falling over, trying to do the Ryan Hall without the genius or the talent. You know, falling over trying to grab his leg. If you don't know who Ryan Hall is, he's a jiu-jitsu guy who literally just went for leg locks a lot and would just go on his back and sit there like, what up, bro? and some guy just started punching him in the head while he was on the ground and beat him. Ilia Topuria did that. So Claudio Puelles is just, he's just so bad, and I wanted to put someone in the favorable matchups, because what you're about to see is neither Dariush or Moicano are in the other categories. Moicano, that one's hard for me. Dariush is in a chance to win as well. Dariush does get clipped, but the only times we've seen him get clipped and hurt, he comes back swinging like a gorilla. And I think Paddy Pimblett has really bad defense, so even if he caught Dariush, he'd probably just catch him and then he'd get caught himself. Dariush strategizes well. This is another thing. He's got good strategy. He usually likes to wrestle, and he didn't wrestle at all versus Gamrot. He avoided the wrestling, which means he's going to plan for Paddy's style. And I think anyone who's a good strategist is really bad news for Paddy, man. Paddy's weaknesses are so obvious. Box with him and have good boxing defense. That's honestly all you need to do to beat Paddy Pimblett. Now, honestly, I couldn't do it, and a lot of us couldn't because we're not top level. But if you're an athlete training like your whole life, and you've got some decent boxing, and you see Paddy Pimblett just getting checked hooked every fight by left hooks, you're just like, well, all I got to do is left hook him over and over, and then just, oh, he's about to punch me because he put his fist back here behind his head. It's not that bad. The point is, he telegraphs a lot. And if Dariush can avoid the grappling with Gamrot, he can avoid the grappling with Paddy. And on the feet, Paddy does have a chance to catch him. But I think, honestly, what happens is Dariush catches him. And that'd be a nice fight, actually. I'd like to see all of these fights. But some of these lower-ranked guys first. Because either I want Paddy to go up and fight someone like Moicano, which hot take, I like that fight. I think that's a toss-up. I would bet on Moicano. I just don't think it's 30%. I think Paddy would be like a 40% chance to win. I don't have it here in this tier list, but I think Moicano, if you look at his fights, he has no threats on the feet. He's a volume striker. He strikes a lot. He strikes pretty hard, but he can't knock people out. And Paddy has a good chin. So, and also, even with Moicano's submission game, I don't like that. I don't like that he's grappling a lot with someone like Paddy Pimblett, who's really good at reversing positions and getting you back. I don't like that Moicano wrestles a lot. I would favor Moicano to beat the living hell out of Paddy with volume and win a decision. But I just don't like that he can stay in the fight for 3 rounds straight with Paddy Pimblett's constant finish potential. He stays in the fight, Paddy is looking for that chin with that big punch. And if Moicano gets rocked, there's a decent chance he shoots a takedown, and Paddy would love that. He'd be, shoot a takedown on me, great. Yeah, now I can reverse it and choke you out, right? So I think Moicano has the edge, and while it would be preferable to have like another one up, like another tier here, because it's not really 50-50, I do favor Moicano. With my tier list how it is, though, I'm going to have to put him at 50-50. I think Moicano has good volume strikes, but if you're just staying on the feet with Paddy, you're giving him a chance to knock you out. And then if you're willingly grappling with Paddy, which Moicano does in his fights, you're giving him a chance to submit you. And we've just got 15 minutes straight of Paddy constantly going for the finish, while Moicano can't finish him. I don't think Moicano can submit Paddy Pimblett. I think their jiu-jitsu's... I want to see that fight. I do want to see that. Because I don't know. Their jiu-jitsus are both really close in my head. You know, like... some of the grappling we've seen from Paddy, just reversing entire positions and finding the back on grapplers, is pretty good. Low-ranked grapplers, fair play. Moicano, I don't see his grappling being crazy. He's kind of a jack of all trades. He can do everything, but he can't do anything amazingly. And he has not very much power. Sadly, no one likes to talk about this, but Moicano, he can't finish people. He hits them a lot. Like, go look up Moicano highlights. He doesn't finish people. He just punches them a lot. Like, you're just giving Paddy a chance to hit you back and clip you and rock you. And then once you're rocked, you're going to freak out and he's going to find a submission. I think it's 50-50. This is where I'd rank everyone in this list. Obviously, I just use this list as a way to hate on Claudio Puelles because he sucks and he should be cut from the UFC. All you do is knee bar and then get TKO'd by body shot. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll leave him alone. I just can't stand him. He'd beat Claudio Puelles. There's a decent matchup with Moicano. I think Moicano would win, but we'll see about that. That's a fight that could happen soon. All of these guys have weaknesses that he could use to beat them, but he probably gets... You know what? I'm actually going to move Chandler up. I just can't see Chandler not brutally KOing a guy who gets hit as easily as Paddy Pimblett. I just can't see it. I know that he gasses out, and as the fight goes on, Chandler increases his chances to lose. I know he's brain dead IQ. Chandler just does the silliest things in fights and gets finished because he just doesn't seem to have any game plan. You know, standing in front of Justin Gaethje, taunting him while he gets smashed in the face, shooting the worst takedown in the world on Poirier and getting reversed by Poirier. That's unlikely. That doesn't happen that much just because of how gassed he was as well. But again, just the strategy there, not very good. I just can't see it. I see a flying knee KO. I see a front kick KO, man. Like, how do you have someone as easily hit as Paddy that doesn't get destroyed by Chandler immediately? I might be overzealous with that, but I'm going to put him in the probably screwed. Charles Oliveira just does everything better than Paddy Pimblett, but he has that. Paddy Pimblett has a puncher's chance against these two. That's why they're there. And then these ones I don't think he has a chance against at all. These two are too high-level technical strikers. They annihilate him on the feet, and he can't get them to the ground. And he can't hit them either. He might hit Fiziev, but Fiziev will trade one punch for 4 punches on the chin. And Islam Makhachev, he's a champion. It's not fair to compare someone so low in the rankings to the champion. Obviously, he was going to be put in screwed. But that's the video. My name is Vana. I just started my channel. Obviously, as you can see, I'm going for the guy who sells drugs on your street look at the moment. I hope to upgrade the production quality of my stuff, but if you like what I've said here, leave a comment, maybe subscribe if you think I'm going to be covering every UFC event this year and giving my predictions on each of the fights. Let me know if you agree with my list. Let me know if I'm a stupid son of a bitch and you think I should shut up, because I'd like to hear that too. And hopefully I see some of you in the next video.